All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to our second edition of the departmental series, College of Environmental Science. Like 2 months ago, we had our first inaugural lecture series, which was titled Mastering the Art and Profiting of a Productive Supervision. That was done by Professor Fayomi. This time around, we have one of our most profound and revered author, speaker, and professor, the Dean of Environmental Science, Department of Architecture. In the name of Professor Pierre A. Opoko. We are privileged and happy to have someone with so much experience within our midst. Before we continue, we'll have to call on the aforementioned names to the high table. First, we call on our HOD, Dr. Shegun Alabi. Secondly, we call on Dr. Adewolu. Please join on the high table. Then we'll call on the Dean, Professor Pierre A. Opoko, to please join them on the high table. Thank you. It's a privilege to have such revered personality at the department. I will hope to have more of this series as we go on exploring frontiers in research. However, today's topic, titled Motivating Students for Academic Excellence, which will be held by Professor Opoko. With her vast experience from several universities, she has a deep understanding on what is required to motivate students for academic excellence. But before we proceed, I will call on Architect Bumi to please give us an opening prayer. Thank you. Amen.
As speaker, we've been impacting us with more knowledge today. We will learn and understand better in Jesus' name. And we pray commit the program into your hands. We pray it's going to be a successful one in Jesus' name.
Amen.
And in the end, we all glory to your name.
Amen.
Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you very much, Architect Bumi Akinde. So at this moment, I will call on the HOD to come and give us a welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to this program. First, I would like to welcome the Dean of the faculty, Professor Akunaya Opoko. As the compere has said, she's well known. She's globally known. She has the experience, and she's here to deliver a very wonderful and interesting topic. I also want to welcome our one and only Dr. Adewolu, widely experienced too. He's the next speaker, by the way, so we should be expecting more. And then quickly, I would just go to the topic. Motivating students for academic excellence. There are two words I'll pick from that. That's the learner, the students. The reason why we're here in the four walls of the university is because of the students. If they are not here, then we have no business being around here. And for us to be able to motivate them, I think motivating them, that word motivating is what Prof will deliver here. How do we go about it? And we're here to deliver academic excellence. And it takes a lot. because we are the facilitators, and if we don't have the experience with the dynamics of today's learning and teaching skills, we might be behind. Somebody called me from Rwanda today, and she was telling me how they are teaching the children in Rwanda that they don't write. Everything is done, electronically, computers, laptops, and everything. I said, so no. He said yes. And just the day before yesterday, a friend of mine called me from the UK, and he was also saying the same thing, that in Nigeria is very beso. You just cram and just drop like that. There, they believe in hands-on experience, and what they do is that their children, they would take them through practical process. They watch videos, they would practicalize things. So I think today we have an experience. He said she has lectured all over. Well, let me put it this way: she has been external examiner. She has gotten some of her degrees, in some different parts of the US and I think UK and Nigeria. So she's vast. So she's a vast person. So let's tighten out our belt, our seat belt, and ready to fly. I believe today we'll get a wonderful, impactful and insightful delivery today. So I welcome you all to this program. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, HOD Architecture, Dr. Segun Alabi. That was a very, very short welcome address, but a lot is yet to be said about the revered professor. It's someone that's been affiliated with our institution right from onset. Yes. Very experienced. Whenever we have accreditation to do, she has been like a mother to us from the beginning of this department. We're very privileged and lucky to have her, and there's a lot we're going to learn from her. I believe the time given to her to speak is not enough, but whatever we can pick from the lecture, we should be seated and jot as much as we can. So at this juncture, I give myself the opportunity to welcome the speaker of today's event in the name of Professor Pierre A. Opoko. You're welcome, ma. You're welcome, ma. Thank you very much, ma. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Sometimes when people talk about you, you look at yourself again and begin to wonder if it's actually you they are talking about. This is simple me, one of you. And basically, first of all, I want to thank the department and the organizers of this program for this privilege to share my little experience, which I have gathered over life, both as a student and in the course of interactions with students. By the grace of God, I've had the privilege of having some international exposure, which I believe also has impacted on my outlook to life. To present this paper today, I'm also drawing not just from my own personal experience, the little research I have done on academic performance. I have tried to examine why architects or architecture students perform the way they do, the high flyers amongst them, what has distinguished them to be that. And then I'm also drawing from literature. I'm also drawing from the experiences of my colleagues, and I want to believe that as we go along, you also would throw in your own experience, because I believe all of us have something to bring to the table. So today we are looking at motivating our students for enhanced academic performance, and I have my outline, which will include a brief introduction. Then I will look at what is motivation and what are the ingredients or the salient points about motivation as it relates to us as teachers. And then I want to also focus a little bit on us, the teachers. How did we come into the program? I mean, into the teaching, having teaching as a career. And what have we brought? What has equipped us to be where we are? And what are we doing, or what is expected of us? And how can we actually better equip ourselves to be what we ought to be? Then also, I would look at the students, to look at the kind of students we have and the things that make them peculiar or make them difficult or make them challenging to deal with. And then I have also identified the places where we can interact with our students. That's the staff and the student places of interactions. And then what are the students expecting from us? Even if they don't tell us, those are the things they're expecting from us. And then what do we now require to be able to deliver, to do the job? And how can we really equip ourselves to be the best we also can be? Because I believe that in as much as we want the students to be their best, we cannot give what we don't have. So we also, on our own part, have to constantly update ourselves, as it were, in order to be able to give out what our students are looking for. Then the concluding remarks, and then some references I cited along the way. By way of introduction, I want to state that higher education, there is high premium placed on higher education all over the world. Everybody wants to go to the university. Everybody wants to go, to have this qualification. And this is even more so in Africa, in our country, Nigeria, where paper qualification commands a lot of status, a lot of respect, and there are some jobs you can't get, especially public jobs, if you don't have the prerequisite paper qualifications. And then successful persons who are able to be admitted to go through higher education and end up completing their program successfully are certified. And usually, if you look at many university certificates, you will see that they are certified in two basic areas, in character and learning. Have you ever wondered why character comes before the learning? I was thinking about it, and I felt it is because character is key. You may be technically knowledgeable, you may have all the skills and all that. If you don't have the character to back it up, then you would make a mess of it. And I think that is why emphasis is placed on the character and learning. And as we go along in our interactions with our students, I want us to bear these two basic requirements in mind, because we are training them not just for academic excellence. Academic excellence gets you to get the job, or to puts you on the limelight, but it is the character that will sustain you to be able to get through and make an impact. So we have to consider the two together. But sadly, it is not everyone who is enrolled in higher education sails through successfully. Some sadly fall by the wayside. They are unable to complete their programs, and some have to struggle. I mean, real struggle. And in that process, it becomes very frustrating. It becomes, it takes longer than is required. And at the end of the day, it's like, was it worth it after all? And major reasons for this struggle or inability of those who are enrolled in higher education to complete their program can be traced to a poor academic performance and then character deficiencies. We can, from our own personal interactions, we can name a catalog of character deficiencies we have observed with our students. But that is where we also come in to help them, mitigate against these two broad classifications of students' needs. And going through literature, I have also found that there is a high relationship between academic performance and motivation. And I think that's why we are focusing on motivation today. Now, the next slide looks at some definitions of motivation. What is motivation? Why is it so much of importance to us? I have put about 3 definitions there I got from literature, but the last one there is what I have as my working definition, and it is whatever you do that stimulates your student, whatever you do that encourages your student to do that you want him to do, whatever you do that supports him, that gives him that courage to behave the way that is expected of him. And that behavior should actually lead him to a good academic performance and, of course, a good conduct. Now, motivation is very, very critical to academic performance, as we have already said. But unfortunately, students are not equally motivated. How do I mean? You can have a class of students. All of them come with different levels of motivation. Some, it may be very low, some may be very enthusiastic, highly motivated. They want to work, they are excited about everything. And some are just there, nonchalant. It doesn't really matter what's going on around them. So that is one. And then they can also be motivated differently. What do I mean? What motivates student A may not necessarily motivate student B. And that's why we need to have a mix, a potpourri of strategies in order to get across to our students. Then I want to also say that motivation is contextual. What do I mean? A student that is motivated now may not be motivated tomorrow. And that means as the context changes, his level of motivation varies. And we must also be very mindful of that. Then, but I want to let us know that no matter how our students present themselves, believe you me, most of them need our support to excel. They need our support, and that support comes in the form of motivation, making them believe in themselves, making them know that they are capable of doing what what is expected of them, making them know that those who have gone ahead of them do not have 2 heads. I would normally ask my students, do I look like somebody who have 2 heads? No. So
if me can do it, then why can't you do it? So we must support them in order to excel. There are just very few of them that are self-motivated. But even those you find who are self-motivated, you find out that if you give them that support, they excel beyond expectations. So everybody, there is room for improvement. I think they said the greatest room is the room for improvement. And that also goes for our students. And we teachers, of course, have a vital role to play in making sure that our students are the best they can be. I have tried to look at the determinants of what factors can influence the motivation of our students. I have tried to group them basically into two: the socioeconomic context in which our students find themselves, their parents, their household characteristics, their peer interactions, their age also influence how motivated they can be. Their gender also can be a determining factor. In my little study, I found out, especially amongst architecture students, that the females are more motivated than the males. And that is because our male students have a lot of distractions. They want to make money. They want to be the big guys. They want to be the happening guys and all that. And unfortunately, the family background and the culture we practice here also do not help our male students. They feel, especially those of them that come from rich homes, they feel that they are already made, that they don't really need this education. So they don't, whether they struggle or not, the bed is already made for them. And sometimes it is not so. Then their own personal traits. There are some that are naturally laid back. They don't care. It's like you are pushing a vehicle that has no engine. So you are just pushing. And even some of them, they don't look annoyed. They don't get offended, but they don't care. It's like, and you begin to wonder, is anything wrong with you? I remember I had a student, I was just drawn to him, and I pushed and pushed and pushed. One day he asked me, he said, "What's your own?" He said, "What's your own?" So I said, when I look at you, I'm not seeing what you are seeing, what you think you are presenting. I'm seeing something behind. And that's what my business is, to bring out that thing. Unfortunately, I lost him. Not that he died, but he dropped out of school. But even though he has dropped out of school, I still call him, because one day he may decide to come back to school. Then the other one is the educational context, and that's where we look at the learning environment. Our studios, our classrooms, how are they configured, how are they structured, what are the fittings there, what is the ambience, what is the comfort level, how do the students feel when they are in the studio or the classrooms or other places that they learn. The libraries, the ICTs, and wherever they have to learn, do they feel this is a good place for me to do what I want to do? Or are they busy fanning themselves? And it's like, oh, when will light come? Or, you know, are they distracted? So the learning environment must be right. The furniture, the infrastructure within the learning environment must be right. I know here we are not there, even though efforts are being made. But I know the department will continue to put pressure on management to, get to continue improving the learning environment for students. Then another thing also is the subject area. Some may find the subject area difficult to grasp. And some may also come with some phobia. Who is teaching structures here? So I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. They come already with already feel defeated before they come in. In CU, we had that challenge. And because we had engineers come teach us our students' structures. But when we discovered that the level of failure was very high, continuously, we decided to get some of us to take it up and then to restructure the curriculum in such a way that it focuses more on what architects need from structures. Structures is very, very critical to the practice of architecture. But when it is being taught by an engineer, it's terrible. And unfortunately, that is the news that goes round. Structures, very difficult. And then the courses we have in the department that are prerequisites, we know the implications. If you fail it, then you're... So some are already come into architectural design with that fear. And because of that fear, they don't loosen up themselves to creativity. Because they want to tread gently, and they don't want to ruffle any feathers. The same also goes for components. So I know the lecturers who are handling these courses, we must make our students feel at home with these things, and let them know the relevance of these courses to their work life as architects. And I'm sure when they do that, they would be more loosened up to flow with you. Then also it could even be some, not just the course itself, this subject area. It could just be a particular task within that subject area. For instance, those of us now that are supervising reports, 400 level, perhaps they have not been writing 10 papers before, like their counterparts in other departments do. So when it comes to writing, they can speak good English, or very good. But to write is difficult. It's not peculiar to us here. It's a general trend amongst in most architectural schools. So it's difficult. Sometimes even when because they don't want to present themselves as failures or not so good, they will be dodging. So when they are dodging, it's not that they don't want to do the job. It's because whatever they put down, they think you will not like it. And one of the strategies I have the devised, and that's what with my students here now, is as you come, I ask you to bring a file. So your work from the first day we meet till the end, we'll put it in that file. And I tell them, I'm doing this so that you will see where you started, and then you will see where you have ended. And to see that there is nothing that is impossible. That's one of the things we must try to do, to instill the possibility mentality in our students. Yes, initially the challenge or the task may look, may appear as a shock. You know, you don't even know where to start. They don't know what to do and all that. That's why we are there to guide them. Then it could also be the curriculum, the way it is structured, the way it is organized. It makes it difficult for some students to cope. And then the teacher also can be a determinant of how motivated the students are. And that's why we are focusing on the teacher today. When I mean teacher, I mean all of us. We can be the teacher or the lecturer that lectures in the class. We can be the one that is supervising. We can be the one that is playing the role of a level advisor. We can be the one that their studio mentor. But one way or the other, we are interacting with these students. And we must make it a challenge for ourselves that any student I come across must remember me. When I was in school, I had this poster, a small sticker in my room, and it just said, if I moved out of this street today, would somebody miss me? Will somebody say that my presence made them glad? And that has continuously helped me. I will just share a little thing with you. On Tuesday, Dr. Loom and myself went to Nibri on an official assignment. And she was shocked. The way it was as if, when you have a beehive and bees are just swarming, it was as if they rang bell. Everybody, Madam is around, Madam is around. People were just rushing up. It got to a stage, she told them, hug me now. And I left Nibri almost 20 years ago. Yeah, well, getting to 20 years, I left Nibri in 2007. So she was surprised at that reception. I may not have done anything fantastic, or I may not even have gone out of my way. So it doesn't take much to make an impact. So now, looking at us as the teacher, I want us to ask ourselves, why are we in this teaching line? How many of us sincerely planned to be a teacher? You did. You did. You did. You did. That makes many of us. As a student in the university, one of my dreams was to be a lecturer. And that's why if you look at my CV, I have a varied background in the built environment. I took courses, I got certifications in housing studies, of course in architecture, in project management, in international housing, things that I knew would help me in future, because ultimately I knew I was going to end up in the classroom. The only dream I have not yet realized, which my children have now realized on my behalf, is to go and work in an African country. I was preparing that by the time I have all of this, I will go to one African country and stay there and work. So what you plan, your plan or your expectations for the future helps you to prepare yourself. So whatever you are doing, you have, yes, you may be here now, but you know ultimately where you are going. And as you are moving along, you are picking experiences, you are picking contacts, you are picking skills that would help you to get there. So for those, then the other thing I want to also ask is, how prepared were we when we got into teaching? Even though I had wanted to go into teaching, I got into it prematurely. I felt I wasn't properly prepared. One of the deficiencies I have as a human being, which is my personal characteristic, is that I'm a bit timid. And I don't talk loud. I talk gently. I remember in one of the NIA meetings, somebody was asking my friend, why does she talk like this? And she said that's how she has been talking since we were in secondary school. You know. But to even get to where I am today, I had to self-tutor myself on public speaking. I bought books. I got a big mirror. I'm leaking my secret, Abi. I got a big mirror. I will stand in front of that mirror and talk, and gesticulate, and if it's not coming out the way I want, I go back and But personally, I tried to build up myself, and that was because I was honest enough to identify my areas of weakness. And because I said earlier that I had to take certifications in various areas, because I wanted to be sound and to be able to discuss other areas, within the built environment where I knew I was going to operate. Then, what are your plans, or what are our plans? Even as we are now, for some of us, our plans may have changed from what it was when we first came. For some of us, it's still on course. For some of us, we are not really sure. But it is good for us to know part-time what is our plan. Because every year, for me as a person, I set goals. Not just for work, even for my social life, I set goals. And one of the things I do is to review my relationships. Any relationship that has not helped me, I find a way of withdrawing. And then I set goals for my work. Where do I want to be at the end of this year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years? Where do I want to go? With my students, what do I want to do with them, and all that? So in setting up goals, we must factor in our students, because they have become an integral part of our lives. And then what is the legacy we want to leave? Because eventually we will all live here. One way or the other, we would live here. What would we want to be remembered for? Now, bearing that in mind, as we try to answer those questions, we want to look at our students as they come. Some of them come very immature, and some very confused. You'll be wondering, but these are supposed to be adults, but they don't know their right from their left. On the other hand, some of them are very knowledgeable. They would have, like coming to bells, they would have investigated or, asked questions about bells. How do things work and all that, architecture, estate, building, wherever they find themselves, urban and regional planning. How are things done there? They would have done that research, as it were. So they come in with a lot of information about about the system. In that same class too, you will see some that are lazy, very lazy. It's not that they are not intelligent, but they would be in bed when lectures are going on. We had a student once, an MSc student. She will not come to class. In fact, her roommate happened to be the wife of one of my friends. And she said at night she will be playing music, watching film, then when it is morning, it's around 5 o'clock, she will start sleeping. So even if she comes to class, will she pay attention? She won't. So some of them also are shy and timid. So even when you have delivered your lectures and you ask questions, you call for questions, and she has questions, she will not ask like me, because she doesn't want to be laughed at, because she is not sure what your reaction will even be. She is not, they keep things to themselves. And such a student will have difficulty performing optimally. And then, like I said earlier, some are very nonchalant. A C will do. Let my people go. They are not aiming high at all. And they forget that this is the foundation. If your performance in your undergraduate level will determine whether you can even come back to do masters, and the conditions continually change. Before, if you had a 2-2, any school would admit you for masters. There are some schools now that, except you have a 2-1, you cannot be admitted for masters. And there are some schools, because of the number of applicants, they now begin to rate. So that you have like cutoff points like we have in JAM. So it's not just that you have a 2-1. How good is that 2-1? But because of their nonchalant attitude, they disenfranchise themselves from some areas of operation. Of course, you know now that if you don't have a master's, you can't even lecture. You're automatically ruled out of that and all that. And then some are also very arrogant and unteachable. And it's like they know it all already. Even if you are trying to say, okay, I understand. He doesn't understand though. He doesn't understand. But he wants to to be the big guy. Maybe there is one girl in the class he's eyeing too, and he doesn't want the girl he doesn't want the girl to look at him as Olodo. So you will be saying, I understand. There was one case like that in CU. In fact, the mother of the girl had to come because the girl was a first-class student, and the boy she was going out with was just struggling to make it. In fact, was a carryover student. The mother had to come and scatter the department, literally, that we must break this marriage. You know. So we have some of them like that. Some are overzealous too. They want to do, but it's just that maybe their zeal is not properly directed. And some are forced into the program. It is not their desire to study architecture. Their parents have asked them to come to study architecture. Then we must also realize that our students have their struggles. There are issues they are struggling with. Some have to do with their health and well-being. It may be physical ill health. It could be mental ill health. It could be psychological disorientation. It could even be self-esteem issue. It could be any of this. And when they behave the way they behave, it can be traced to some of these things. And some also have poor resource management. They are not able to manage their time. They are not able to manage their finances. Even if the finance is not adequate, it could have gone far longer than they are able to achieve with it. Some also are not able to manage the course materials that are provided for them. Some are struggling with setting priorities. They are not able to set their priorities. You know, there is so much freedom in the university, and if care is not taken, you will see some playing football instead of being in the class. Then some, of course, have financial issues, and some have some family issues. It could be a parent is ill, or there are other challenges at home that affect the way our students perform. Then some students also don't know where to source information, and some have they don't know where to get information. Some don't know how to use the library. Some don't even know where to go for counseling. And some are also not aware that if they are having financial issues, there are scholarships and financial support system within the university and outside they can benefit from. And then there are also social issues, especially relationship with the opposite sex. We know the age at which our students are. And biologically, these are natural instincts that will come up, but they must have to be properly guided. And that's where we come in as people who have gone through this and perhaps have made our own mistakes. We wouldn't want them to suffer the same fate too. Some also have challenges with relating with their classmates, roommates, and even the staff. There are some that this is the first time they are coming out to do things for themselves and all that. So they are timid, they are scared and all that. Then where are the places we would normally interact with our students? The lecture rooms, in the course of supervision, maybe in our offices or other places, in the studios within the university, even outside the university, and then on these platforms we are using to interact with them. Some of them may not have the boldness to come and face you and share what they want to say, but they can hide under that platform and say the things that are burning in their hearts, and we should be flexible in the way we relate with them. Then what are they expecting from us? In spite of all of this, what are they expecting from us? They expect us to impart knowledge. They expect us to transfer skills that would help them in life. It may not just be skills that are tailored to our individual professional practice. In the competitive world of practice now, there are other skills that can set you apart, and some of us have them. I beg us, let us feel free to share some of these skills with them. Marketing skills, for instance, I don't think it's taught in many schools. Marketing skills, how to get jobs, how to relate with your clients, and they may be taught a bit in professional practice, but you now have practical experience. So what is in the book sometimes is not reality. So you have the reality. Let us also feel free to share this with them. They are looking for character builders. Remember, I mentioned at the beginning that they are expected to be worthy in character, and many of them are already having character deficiencies. Sometimes they are not happy. They may be, pulling shoulder and dragging their feet, and you think inside of them they are yearning for a change. They are not happy with what is going on with them. Some may have gotten where they are today because of peer pressure, and they are looking up to you to help them. So they are looking for mentors, those who will take them in spite of what they have been through, those who will take them in spite of what has happened to them, and show them the way. Guide them. I'm not saying spoon feed them. Guide them. Of course, scold them when you need to, but guide them. Teach a man how to fish, and he will not be hungry forever. But if you continue giving fish, any day you withhold your fish, you will go hungry. They want role models. So they may not even relate very closely with you. Even from afar, let them see you as that role model. One of the things I miss about Professor Adeyemi of blessed memory is his sense of fashion. If you knew Professor Adeyemi, his fashion is his English. When he was in CU, that's where I had very close relationship with him. If anybody had an issue, a very serious issue with management, and wanted how to appeal or to write so that management can reconsider, they will come to him. He will guide them. And honestly, once that is done, management can hardly say no. Because his choice of words, the arrangement, of course, how many of you met him and heard him speak? The English that comes out of his mouth, if he were a woman, many men would marry him. Asko, I'm not flattering him, he's not here. I'm not flattering him. Up till he was my supervisor, my co-supervisor in my PhD program. Some of the comments he made on my work, I kept them. From time to time, I want to read. Sometimes I want to write a memo. I look at how he and when I was there when we were there together, sometimes I would just go to him and say, Prof, is there anything I can help you do? Sometimes he will say, okay, help me arrange this, help me do this. Sometimes you say, no, my wife, I don't want you to do anything. Do you want coffee? I say, yes, I want coffee. We can be there and we will talk for 2 hours. In those 2 hours, by the time I leave, I would have been enriched. So most times I go to him, it was because I wanted to tap something from him. And God helped me, and I tapped, maybe not so much as I would have desired I did. Then another thing I also learned from him is that Prof believed that no student is a write-off. No student is a write-off. No matter how bad, there must be something good in that student. So he was my own role model. And I advise all of us to get role models. I also had another mentor I've never met up till today. And that was when I was doing my PhD. I was looking for literature. And I saw this lady in South Africa had worked in my area. And I reached out to her. Believe you me, she supported me until I finished my PhD. So she was my mentor, sending me materials. If I write, I will send to her. She would correct at no cost. There are people out there who are ready to support us. And we can have mentors who will guide us academically in our career. There are also mentors who can guide us in our social life. So it's not just that you have one mentor. Wherever you think you have need, please go for a mentor. Then the students are also looking for inspiration. They are looking for inspiration. Now, a lot of things I have said the students are expecting from us. How do we, what do we need to be able to meet these demands of our students? And that's where I'm going to with the requirements for the job. Of course, we must be of good character. If we want to be role models to these students, we must be of good character. I don't think that requires a further explanation. We must be disciplined and operate within the rules. Within the university, there are guidelines that that should advise us on our conduct in every area of our activities, and we must try to operate within those rules. Now, in doing that too, we must not take undue advantage of our students. They have been entrusted in our care. They have been entrusted in our care. It's like when you tie meat on the neck of a dog, you don't expect that dog to eat that meat. It's the safest place to keep meat. Put it on the neck of the dog. So we must not harass them. I'm sorry I have to be down to earth. We must not harass them sexually. Now, it is not only the men that harass the females. Females are also harassing the males. So I'm talking to all of us. Even the grandmas are also harassing the young ones. So I'm also talking to myself. We must not harass them. We must not see, especially for the young ones amongst us, we must not see this as an opportunity to find a spouse. God has buttered my bread. He has linked me up with this one. So we must not. Of course, it can happen. Shebi, the president of France, married his teacher. It can happen, but even if that is destined to be, play by the rules. We will be happy for you. We will attend the wedding. Then we should also not ask for financial inducement, whether directly or indirectly, by our body language. A student comes to you and then you say, I have not eaten since morning. And you want me to start talking now. How are we going to do this now? Or other ways. You know, these students are smart and they can exchange notes. So don't be surprised. They can write a dossier on all of us. Even me, that is the latest entrant, they can write a dossier on me. I remember I was one of my ex-student students now practicing that I'm still in touch with. We were talking one day, and I asked her. She said they were calling one of my colleagues one name. So now I asked her, what do they call me? He said, you are Madam Cash. And he was like, why? And she tried to explain. But those were things I did because I felt there was a need that had to be met. So we must also not request for payment for our services. And we must not turn them into our errand boys or girls. Of course, you can send them to do something for you, but let it not be so much that they will now be scared of coming to you. Because if I go there now, you will not do this. He will be sending me up and down. At the end of the day, I will say he's tired. Come tomorrow, and all that. It is training to send them on errands. Do this, especially when it relates to their work. Send them to do the running around. Don't do it for them, because I see that as spoon feeding them. Then we must be patient. We must be patient because some of them can be very tiring. They can exhaust your strength. But we must be patient, knowing where some of them are coming from. Then we must also appear to them as genuine. If we want to get their trust, we must appear to them as genuine, because if they don't trust you, they can't open up to you. Then we must be available. We must be available. We must be available. If you are supervising a student, create a schedule. How often you want to see. I don't think is there any rule against students submitting their work to our email addresses, soft copies. We can look at it. So even if you are not going to be physically present, use the e-platform and get the job going. Then we must be open and receptive. Sometimes we shouldn't just do things to suit us. Plan schedules to suit us. We must carry them along also. But in all this, we must be fair, because children of this age like to test the waters. Once they know you are not a firm person, they will play along and they would capitalize on that. And at the end of the day, you may be the one to be messed up. We must also be good in our communication. In our communication, tell them clearly what we are expecting from them. Like my students, I have told them we need to meet once every week. Even if there is nothing to show, come, let me see you. We can talk. And then you may also have other information to give them. In all this, you can see that as a lecturer, you are playing multiple roles, and you must have the capacity to do that. One of the things that can help you to do that, achieve that, is to be sensitive and observant. Some of them may not talk, but from their body language, you know all is not well. What is impairing their academic performance may not even have to do with academics at all, may not even have to do with the university environment. But you must be able to establish that relationship that would help you, gain their confidence to tell you what is paining them, so that you can get that off the way for you to achieve what you want to do. Now, in all of this, you cannot give, or we cannot give what we don't have. We cannot give what we don't have. So we must be on top of our game, know our subject matter. Don't go to the class or meet your students without preparation. Even if you have your notes already done, before you go, look through, add something new. You make new examples, so that it's not what they heard yesterday, or what maybe somebody is carrying over the course and is in the same class, and he comes to your class 2 times. He says it's the same thing, and next time he will not come, and you will be wondering why he's not coming to class, because there is nothing new. There is nothing that is, challenging him to come. If your student knows that each time he meets you, that he will leave there enriched, he would come. He would come. He would come. Now, you must also set goals for them. Help them to set goals that are achievable. Goals that are achievable. And as you are setting those goals, track their progress and provide feedback. I have put there timely feedback, because feedback loses its value if it is not timely. Then focus on the mastery of tasks instead of grades. I know here our grade is important too. I'm not saying they should not pass and pass well. But I bet you that a student who knows the job will pass. Even if he doesn't make an A, he will get a B, at worst a C. So focus on that would have because mastery of the task is a lifelong skill that he has acquired. A grade it may not be, it may not help. After he has gotten the grade, ask him next time. He can't even remember what the topic was. He may not even remember you were the one who taught the course and all that. So, and then we must also avoid superiority reinforcement. What do I mean? Talking down on them, making them feel that you know it all, making them feel that they don't know anything. You must do this. You must do this. It can be the way we talk, the choice of our words. It can even be the way we our body language. And a student is taking note of all these things, because some of them are very sensitive, some are very emotional, and she lives there or he lives there, and the next minute you see him crying, and it's like, but I didn't say anything, but you did, and you have hurt him deeply. So we must criticize them, but we must be constructive. We must be constructive. We must be constructive. Sometimes we may give them the impression that we are that we never made mistakes. Share from your own life experience. Share from your own life experience. As an architecture student, I wasn't. When we came in, I wasn't one of the best. Let me put it like that. But I was determined, and I would work. We were only 4 girls in my class, and I would work. I would stay in the studio with the boys we would work. One of the days I was working, and you know that time there is manual on tracing paper. As I was working, I was crying. And as I was crying, I didn't know when tears dropped on my tracing paper. And this is a sheet I have been working on for 2 days. Of course, you know that is condemned. Nobody advised me again. Nobody. Honestly, I didn't need any counselor again to either stay and continue with this course or go. Nobody forced me. It's me that chose the course, unfortunately. So I cannot say my parents for. In fact, my parents wanted me to read pharmacy. Behind their back, I feel architecture, first choice, second choice. So I have nobody to even complain to. So I advised myself. Then we should also avoid threatening them. Even when we know the consequences of their actions, we can tell them, if you continue in this way, very nicely, this is what will happen. But we will say it in such a way that it is not a threat. Because oftentimes children of this age, if you threaten them, they will dare you. If you threaten them, they will dare you. So let us be very careful and know that we are trying to salvage or to help them redeem and enhance their future. And of course, we should, in the course of our relationship with them, bond with them. Of course, bonding, I'm not saying bonding in the negative way. We should be such that they can feel free to lean on us. I had one student, he was in MSc then. One day we just finished a class and then he came to my office and he said, he greeted me and all that. And he said, "Ma, I want you to be my mother." So I laughed and I said, "And now I'm already your mother." He said, "No, as per my mother." I said, "Okay, you will be my mother." And then he asked me, "Can I have a hug?" I said, "Yes, come." I hugged him. And you know, in CU, it's almost an offense for male, female to hug. But the way he asked me that, "Can I hug you?" I said, "Yes, come." Later, I found out that he had no mother. He had a stepmother, but the stepmother was having psychological issues. So she wasn't really there for them. Up till today, Ima and myself, we are family. In fact, when my sons finished, they went to work in his firm. When he goes to Rwanda, he stays with my son in Rwanda. And that relationship. So some of them can come making some demands. Just be there for them. Let them have your shoulder to cry on if they need to cry. And, but know the limits. Let not your good be spoken evil of. And then, of course, when they've done well, we should reward them. Reward is not always in cash. Words of, commendation. If you can buy something, fine. If you can have a drink together, fine, or whatever. But just let him or her know that, yes, you have done well. And of course, when they have also not done well, lash them. Talk to them the way you know they understand. You remember I said the students come in different forms. So through your interaction with them, you know that what you will say to student A and have an impact will not be what you will say to student B. Some students want to be spoken harshly to, and that jerks them from their sleep. And then they come to reality. But some need to be spoken to gently. So it is for us to know that. And like I said, we should not spoon feed them. We should not spoon feed them. Now, in doing all of this, how do we continuously equip ourselves? We need to read. It has been said that if you want to keep something away from the black man, put it inside the book. But for us who have chosen to be teachers, we must read and read and read, because that helps us to be current. That helps us to know the trends. That helps us to also be able to know what to say. And then we must attend the conferences, workshops, and seminars. Good enough, some of these things now, we don't have to be there physically. We can join virtually and still gain knowledge. And a lot of these things are also on the web, so we can, get them. And then we should network amongst ourselves, and then with people outside our college, our departments, our college, the university, and even globally. We should have a network that can support us in any way we want. Some can even be in helping us get funding for our research, helping us get funding for our conference, to attend conferences and all that. And then for those of us who don't have mentors, we should get mentors. They may not be people you meet physically. I gave an example of Ruth that I have never met, but she made an impact in my life. And I cannot talk about my career progression without mentioning her. And then we must also be open to feedback. Feedback, how are we doing? Ask your students, if you are at home with them, if you have established a good relationship, they will tell, but Oga, you too, they shout. You could, they will tell you things, not insulting. They will say it and be open and use them to improve yourself. Your colleagues too. And then those who are your superiors, both within and outside the system. But I think the best feedback anybody can have is the feedback from self-evaluation. The feedback from self-evaluation. You know where you have gone. Okay, I should have done it this way. I should have. And where you are in doubt, seek a second opinion. Sometimes I write memos or I write reports. I give to some people to help me read. In case I have missed out something, in case I have not said it well and all that. It's not a sign of weakness. I don't think it is. As a matter of fact, I want to think it's a sign of strength, because you are open to accept your weakness. And if you don't, you can't work on them. So by way of a conclusion, I want to let us know that motivation and motivating our students especially is a very demanding task, but it is also very rewarding. It's also very rewarding. I cannot give examples. In the little time I have been in teaching, the joy I have gained or have derived from my relationship with my students. It is very rewarding. Sometimes it can be monetary, it can be financial, sometimes it can be in kind, sometimes it can be in support. I cannot land in Abuja now and I want some and nobody will come to pick me, except I sneaked in. And my students are just here. I remember my prof I talked about. When Sambo was the VP, one day he invited him. And when Prof came, he said he gave him something handsome. There was a time his students, or people he taught, bought him when Mercedes was Mercedes. They bought a brand new Mercedes car for him. He has died now, but he's also being celebrated in death. I hope many of us will be at the funeral program that will be taking place in Lagos. Is this month? In 2 weeks' time. He is being celebrated even in death. And it is because of the impact he made in the lives of his students. I encourage us, let us not look at the challenges. Let us not look at the demands. Let us be there for our students. Be the shoulder they can cry on. Guide them to get to where we are. And not be scared that they will surpass us. It is our prayer, the African prayer, that our children will do better than us. And when that is done, all of us will be remembered for good. Then I want us to look at our students beyond now. Let us not mind what we are seeing. Where will they be in 10 years' time? Even if they don't know, we should be imagining that for them. Where will they be in 20 years' time and all that? And finally, I want us to know that we cannot mold the life of the students all by our own. But let us see ourselves as a component of a puzzle. See the life of these children, the destiny of these children as a puzzle where different people, stakeholders, play different roles to get them where they ought to be. Let us play our own role so that at the end of the day, the puzzle will be complete. Because if we fail to do our part, it means that puzzle may never, let me use that word, may never be complete. Something will be missing, and it is our slot that may be missing. May that not be our portion, I pray. On that note, I want to thank you for listening, and I pray that God would help us to continue to improve ourselves, to be the best we can be in the lives of our children. Always make an impact. I was sharing with somebody the other day. In my church, I teach in the children department. And one of the things I do, nobody asks me to, is to arrange money, offering money. You know, the money comes in dirty, squeeze, all that. But I like to arrange it. I don't count though. I'm not good in counting money. But I like to arrange. And for some time, I've not been regular in the children department. And it's like, the feedback I got was that they now have to plead with people to do that. So even something as mundane as arranging money is filling a gap. So let us find the gaps in the lives of these children that we can do. And when we do that, we will motivate them to be good in character, and we would motivate them to excel in their academics. Thank you very much.
So at this moment, I'll call on Dr. Alabi Mrs., Chairman of that committee, to come and give us vote of thanks.
Thank you, Today's lecture and seminar that we as lecturers have taken something. I, for one, have taken I've taken the challenge to be a motivator, and I've also taken the challenge to look at my students with new eyes. You know, most times, over time, when you're used to start to treat them like one set of people. But she has reminded us today that they're all individuals coming from various backgrounds with different challenges and different things that they are faced with. So we need to look at our students with new eyes, and we need to see ways in which we can bring out the best in them. Because like she has said, and it's true, just that it might be a bit more hard work for some and less work for others, where you have to bring out the best, motivate them for excellence. And then also, we as lecturers, I've also learned that we need to keep training ourselves. We need to keep ourselves prepared, identify our deficiencies and work on them. And we should not be afraid to know where we are weak. And we should not be afraid to let even the students tell us where we are weak. Because it is when we know that we can be stronger and better. So I believe that God will continue to bless our prof for us. Amen. And subsequent seminars, we will be able to learn some more things from her wealth of experience. The next seminar is going to involve Dr. Adewolu, and by God's grace, within the next 2 weeks, we should have the topic out for everyone to know and look forward and prepare themselves towards the seminar. I really appreciate you for coming, and I appreciate you for the support. I look forward to the seminar extending to other arms of the university, but we are being cautious right now, so we need to really advertise on the university platform, and just so that we can gather momentum and improve on ourselves as time goes on. So I really thank you so much for coming. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Opoko and Ali. So at this moment, we appreciate everybody present today. We appreciate the presence of our DD, she has left. We acknowledge her presence. We appreciate the presence of those from other departments, so and everyone that represents the college. We appreciate your presence today. You've heard from our chairman and subcommittee. The seminar continues, and we extend to other areas in the institute to our students as advised by the WT Dean. So at this moment, I will call on to Architect Fadi. Architect Fadi, please give us a closing prayer. Thank you.
Everlasting Father, King of Glory, thank you once again for this opportunity. We thank you that at the beginning we made you the first, and you have seen us through the program. Accept our thanks in Jesus' name. And that all that we have learned, Father, let it be for the progress of this department, for the progress of the college, and for the progress of the university as a whole. And all glory will return to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.